Ah, ahoy! Never did one of these before. This video is a prelude of things to come. So there are two franchises that mean so much to me that in the last couple of years have been on very similar paths that has led to them being franchises that leave me a bit despondent. Those franchises being The Legend of Zelda and God of War. Both of these franchises are legendary within the gaming industry, both being valuable intellectual properties of the consoles they are exclusively featured on. With Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time for the longest time was considered the greatest video game of all time, and to this day a lot of people can still argue it. And upon God of War 1's release, Kratos became an instant video game icon, and God of War 2 was the PS2's last hurrah. Both of these franchises also house games that are in my top 10 favorite video games of all time. God of War 3 is somewhere in my top 5 and is the first game I ever earned a platinum trophy in, and Majora's Mask has been my undisputed #1 favorite video game ever for the last 15 years. The amount of 100% walkthroughs I've made with this game is unhealthy. So yeah, life is good. But then both franchises had a bit of a quiet era in the mid-2010s, featuring no new main installments. During the Wii U era, the only Zelda games we got were HD remasters of older games and a spin-off Dynasty Warriors type game. And after God of War 3's release in 2010, the rest of the PS3's and first half of the PS4's lifespan were spent either getting re-releases or prequels that people weren't too excited about because they just wanted to see what was next in store for Kratos. But then both the games got those long-awaited releases in the late 2010s, with Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild coming out in 2017 and God of War in 2018. Both games had so much hype leading up to their release, with excitement over the new direction these games were taking the series. Hell, they both won their respective Game of the Years and pretty much had that locked in before the games even came out. I wasn't really paying attention to video games at the time, but even I heard about how huge both these games were. Now the year is 2020, I get back into video games and I'm ready to rebuild my collection, and I knew that I had to catch up on those two series that meant a lot to me. So I finally played them, and I really liked them. I thought they were really good games, but I didn't think they were these embodiments of perfection that news outlets put them out to be. But compared to the rest of their respective series, I think they were a major step down in many ways. This started to foster a bit of a dislike for the game, but not because of the quality of the games, but because anytime I try to have a discussion with people about it, I find myself getting dismissed and treated like a fucking idiot. And excuse me for being a bit cross for being dismissed and treated like a fucking idiot. Especially when I'm not being heard, where I'm just trying to say that the game is great, but lacks a lot of what made the franchise beforehand special. I'm not here trying to bitch about frame rates or bugs. These games lost a bit of their franchise's identity, which really made the arguments I had with people even more stupid and a waste of my time because they didn't even play any of the other games. They just hopped on the hype train for these games and are going to argue with me about the whole franchise? Please, your resume is nowhere near mine in this department. It all left a bad taste in my mouth for these games, which I hate because I still really like the games as games, and I believe I said nice things in the videos I made for them back in 2020. I'm not gonna go back and check, I don't ever want to watch those videos again, no one should. But all this nonsense with people has made it that whenever I think about these games, I just get frustrated. Continuing the comparisons, both the fans of these games were melting with excitement as they waited for sequels, and then we finally got them in the early 2020s, with God of War Ragnarok in 2022 and Tears of a Kingdom in 23. Now I have owned both of these games for a bit, yet I never touched them. It might be because I'm still so traumatized from my experiences with people when it came to the other two games that it made me put off jumping into these. But I'm gonna finally make myself sit down and do it. But before I get into God of War Ragnarok and Tears of a Kingdom, I feel this need to go back and re-jump into God of War 2018 and Breath of the Wild. You know, give them another go and see if I can better explain my issues with the titles, and maybe have that fun again and relatively positive experience before people ruined it for me. So that's what we got in store. First I'm going to revisit The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild and God of War 2018, and then for the first time I'm going to play God of War Ragnarok and The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. So with that,